My sister was toasting her engagement when I realized every single word coming out of her mouth was my life. She stood at the head of the table in a dress that cost more than my rent, holding a champagne flute, telling 30 people about her scholarship to NYU, her year abroad in Florence, her job at the architecture firm downtown. The room was laughing, clapping, completely enchanted. None of it was hers. I sat at the far end of the table next to our mother, who hadn't looked at me once since I arrived. That should have been my first warning. Daniel, the fiancé, was old money, the kind of family with a last name that opens doors. And apparently Renee, my little sister, had decided that her actual life, the dropped out of community college, 3 jobs at once, borrowed money from everyone life, wasn't going to cut it. So she borrowed mine instead. I found out by accident. His mother had Googled her, found my LinkedIn, my portfolio, a newspaper article about a building I helped design. She'd shown Daniel and he'd smiled and said, "That's my Renee." And nobody corrected him. Not Renee, not my mother. Nobody. I stood up. My chair scraped loud enough that the whole table went quiet. Renee's eyes locked on mine, and I watched the color drain straight out of her face. I said her name once. Just once. She laughed for the room. She said, "Oh, my sister gets so emotional at parties." And something in me snapped clean in half. I told Daniel that the scholarship she mentioned was mine. The firm is mine. Florence was my semester abroad, and I have the photos to prove it. I told him his fiancée hadn't finished a single college course and had 3 credit cards in my name that she'd maxed out before I even knew they existed. The table was absolutely silent. Daniel looked at Renee. Just looked at her. And she started crying, which she's always been brilliant at, and she said I was jealous, that I'd always tried to sabotage her, that our mother knew the truth. And then our mother did something I will never in my life forget. She nodded. She actually nodded and said, "Maya has always had a difficult relationship with her sister's success. I looked at my mother, this woman who raised me, and I understood in that single moment that she had known. Maybe not everything, maybe not the credit cards, but she had known Renee was using my name, and she had let it happen because Daniel's family had money, and Renee had always been her favorite, and I was just the one whose life was convenient to steal." I picked up my bag. Daniel was already pushing back from the table, asking Renee for her actual diploma, her actual ID, his voice going very quiet and very cold. I walked out. Renee called me 6 times before I reached my car. On the 7th call, I picked up. She was whispering. The party sounds were gone. She said he left. She said, "You ruined everything." I said, "No, you did. A long time ago." I haven't spoken to my mother since that night. I filed a fraud report the following month, and last week Renee sent me a text asking if I'd be willing to talk. I'm still deciding if she deserves an answer.